The Houston Rockets added Ime Udoka, and which Spurs jersey should stay up in the rafters and which shouldn't.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Quick health update. No, I am not out of the woods yet. Yeah, this thing just will not get out of the way. But I'm getting better little by little, so forgive me if I sound a little congested throughout this show. Hey, what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about the Rockets adding Ime Udoka. Now, you're probably sitting there like, okay, I thought I'm here for Locked On Spurs, not Locked On Rockets. Well, we're going to ask how that impacts the Spurs as far as their standing moving forward in the West. Yeah, there's something that's happening to San Antonio right now in their own backyard. Also, jerseys and Kawhi Leonard's Spurs jersey, should it be retired or not? It's been a big debate this offseason, but we're going to look at some of the jerseys that are retired right now and ask which one should stay up there, which one should come down. Right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Who is joining me today? He is back, everybody. He is Nick Mantas, a sports reporter in San Antonio and a guy who's actually in Austin right now. Are you scouting out relocation? I'm kidding, Spurs fans. Welcome back, Nick.
Thank you. It's good to be back. No, I'm just up here, just doing a little business here and there, and then talking with a couple people about some stuff, and also being up in this area, but not necessarily thinking about relocating. If you guys can find me a better house or better stadium, if you will, a better arena to live in, then maybe I can see myself staying in San Antonio longer. I'm just playing around. But no, it's great to be back, and great to be on the show again. Thanks for having me.
No, anytime, buddy. And just a quick heads up, he is on a cell phone right now, just so please so excuse any audio issues that he may have. But Nick's a pro. He knows how to handle this. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick_Mantas right now. So, Nick, as I just said right now, hey, Ime Udoka goes to Houston, new head coach. And as I said, you're probably, even you reacted the way when I sent you the rundown. You're like, huh? What? Why are we going to talk about Ime? You went, oh. It took you a while to start seeing the puzzle pieces, but there are some puzzle pieces that could impact the Spurs. Now, first of all, let me get your reaction on Ime going to Houston. I think that was a brilliant move on their part as the new head coach.
Yeah, that was huge, honestly.
Yeah.
I kind of see, was Houston's been struggling to try to find some consistency with the young core that they have. It kind of put things into perspective of the way in which they want to move forward, which is from the top down needs to be a solid choice all the way through. And having such a young group like Houston has, it kind of reminds me of the Boston Celtics from a couple of years ago. Having grown up in Boston, I do stay pretty close to my hometown Celtics, but yeah. It's one of those things that it's really interesting to see the way he comes from the coaching tree of Popovich and when he was here with the Spurs, and now has himself with a great opportunity to have another young team that he can really mold into the team that he wants to see. And I think it's going to be exciting to see what he can do with them. And I think it's a great choice for Houston to choose him when it comes to, moving forward as a team that, like we saw, has the same record as the Spurs at the end of the season. So it should be, I think it's going to be good for Houston to move forward. What are your thoughts on being a former Spurs assistant now over in Houston?
Well, here's my thought. It exactly is the topic now. This was my first reaction was, oh no. And here's why.
Yeah.
It's not just simply that one singular move that they did when they brought in Ime. It's now the collective. And this was my reaction to it was, hold up. The Spurs are, I wouldn't say they're out of their rebuild yet, at least their deepest point of it. They're not even on the upward, to get out of it yet. So my first thought was, hold up. Houston's been drafting in the top 5 for the last 2-3 seasons, and they brought in some good talent. They got Sengun. They got Green. They got a young core there.
Mhm.
They had another bad season, which means, lo and behold, they're in the lottery again and do have one of those 14% chances at getting Wemby. And now you add a guy like Ime to the mix, who's going to pretty much turn that coaching staff around and get the roster back, in tip-top shape. Oh no, Nick, as I send the rundown to him, this puts the Spurs kind of behind the chase for one of the top spots just in the West.
Mm.
Nick, they're not even out of the rebuild yet. And here's Houston that has been tanking for longer than the Spurs, added a bunch of young kids that are adaptable to today's NBA. And then you bring in an Ime Udoka who has the Popovich pedigree, who took Boston to the finals, I believe.
Mhm.
And the Spurs got some work to do. I'm starting to think like the Spurs can rebuild all they want, but it just makes me think they got to start making perhaps bigger swings at the fence, hit a home run to catch up and keep up with the Joneses just in the West, Nick.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they were thinking of doing with grabbing, a guy like him, who in a way was a free agent after being let go by Boston, after the scandal came out about his personal situation that he had with an assistant. But as they move forward, I see you making a case for the Spurs now being, a little bit behind the eight ball, and I think right now I can kind of see that just kind of being the Houston Rockets right now have the shiny new toy, and that is going to be put into action to see whether or not it actually pans out, because it didn't really it took a little bit for the guys in Boston Celtics young core to really kind of come together and realize that Ime is a little bit hard. He's old school. He's going to be hard on you. He's not going to be like, okay, let's all come together and let's work. No, he's going to be on you if you're not getting back on defense, or you're not playing the way that he wants to see them play. So I want to see how this all comes together. Right now, it looks like they're obviously in a better position because they got, the brand new coach who is, a season away from going to the NBA Finals and being a couple ways away from having an actual ring. So I could see that. But when it comes to the rosters themselves, as far as organizations, I really still, and I'm not being, hometown biased in this, but I really still see that. I think that the Spurs, if you compare young core versus young core, I like the way the Spurs are going. And if you add another piece, within the top couple of picks in the draft coming in this year, I think it definitely makes a case for the Spurs to be, still right up there, even though the Rockets got their shiny new toy and have the possibility of getting Wemby when the lottery actually falls. So
well, that's the thing right now with San Antonio and Houston having had to do the coin flip. I think it would be, I guess, dire as far as the chase to be one of the top teams in the West, to solidify themselves as a top 6 playoff team, is if Houston does get Wemby. I mean, can you imagine that? You add Houston with Wemby and Ime and Green and Sengun and the rest of those young kids out there. That could be a problem for the Spurs that are just trying to find themselves out of the hole that they're in right now in this rebuild. Not to say that the current roster as constructed is horrible, because there's a part of me that thinks that if this Spurs team was healthy last season, I don't think they're a 22-win season team. I think maybe pushing upper 20s, maybe sniffing the 30. But I just I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade here. I know it's supposed to be good vibes right now. The lottery's around the corner. Let's get the good vibes going. But
got Fiesta. We got to be having good vibes.
Yeah, I got Fiesta. Exactly.
Come on.
But that was my first thought was, oh my goodness. And we're not even talking about Dallas yet. Dallas, okay, sure, they had a stinker of an ending of a season, but they still got a franchise player that you can build around with Luka. And who knows with Kyrie if he sticks around. So now you have the Texas teams. I still push Dallas ahead as the best Texas team right now. Sure. But Houston can really vault if they do things right in the draft. They get a lucky. Even if they don't get lucky, let's just say Detroit vaults and they get the number 1 pick. Sure, okay, fine. But wherever Houston lands, 2, 3, 4, they're still going to add a great piece to that roster. that they can mix in well. We're talking with Nick Mantas. He is a San Antonio sports reporter. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick_Mantas. He's in Austin, everybody, but no, he's not prepping for relocation.
I'm just here for the day.
He's just here.
Everybody chill out.
He's just there for a couple of days, just like the Spurs were there for a couple of games. Right here. That's all it is, buddy. Right here on Locked On Spurs. We're not done talking about this topic. We'll get back. We'll wrap that up and then start looking at those retired jerseys at the AT&T Center. Hey, I want to talk to you about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs the fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Nick Mantas. We're talking about your silver and black. And once again, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be looking at the Spurs, the offseason, and we're going to mix it up a bit. I think we're going to have a visit from an NBA 2K League visitor, head coach, I believe from the Hawks Talons Gaming. He'll stop in and just talk about what's going on with his team in the league and much, much more right here on Locked On Spurs. Excuse me. But it's going to wrap up this conversation. So, Nick, after we assess this, we're looking at, if we just take the Texas teams alone, Houston and their roster, and then Dallas, where they're at right now, makes me think like perhaps in this offseason and next season, and I think just moving forward, I think every critical point is going to be crucial for the Spurs, whether it be the lottery, the draft, the trade deadline, and then these young guys are developing fast. I think they really have to get things going.
Yeah, it's got to be fast moving, and it's no better time than the present to really get some stuff moving, and it'll be interesting.
Yeah, you sound very relaxed though. You're not as worried as perhaps I am when I see the landscape. Because earlier in the first segment, you're like, I think the Spurs are okay with how they're being constructed right now. Why are you not really too worried?
Because I think I've seen things just kind of happen very quickly, especially having been a sports broadcaster and working on the TV side of things. Usually when you're applying for a job, if somebody contacts you on Monday, you get an offer and they want you in the station by Friday. So things in my world have always moved kind of quickly, and I know that things can happen that way. And knowing that the draft is coming up, the lottery's coming up, we'll see how things move with that. But I really do see that, there might be some pieces that even if you don't get Wemby, you can bring in a bigger, free agent that I think can really solidify that starting five. And then, maybe has somebody like maybe moving Zach Collins, to the bench or see what happens. And I'm really excited about, what this young core and the Spurs team can really do. And I'm not too worried because I feel like, they had a down year. And as we've mentioned before, and on different episodes of Locked On Spurs as well, the MVP of the Spurs this year has been the injury chart, the injury report. So because of how many guys got hurt so often. And you can call that tanking, you can call it whatever you want, but I'm very, I guess I'm more relaxed and just kind of knowing that there's things that can change very quickly this offseason, knowing that, there's a lot of pieces out there that the Pop and the coaching staff could bring in and sign some guys. And when you don't have, anybody who's signing, huge max contracts, it gives you an opportunity to really go out there and get somebody. And so with a young core like the Spurs have, I believe can really put themselves in a good position to bring in a couple of guys and turn the corner this next couple of months. So what are you most worried about this offseason?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, I was just going to say, every single time I talk to you, it sounds like it's like the intensity and the anguish is building.
You know what it is? It's just accumulation of things. It's
Okay.
it's like everything seems to be, like come on, Spurs, you got to get on the ball, like make something happen. Okay, fine. I'm making this up. Hope it doesn't happen. You whiff on the number one pick in the lottery.
Mhm.
Okay, but you got these assets you can still flip. Whether that doesn't have to be the players, it could be all those draft picks, that war chest they have of them, and let's make
Right.
something happen. Because
Yeah.
I don't know if the fan base can take another rebuilding season. How much longer can even the players themselves? I mean, I would not be surprised, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, where Devin
Mhm.
Vassell is at the end of a contract extension, for example, say, you know what, I don't know if I want to play my peak years in a rebuilding situation. But what if that happens again?
Mm.
And you start seeing
Yeah.
players exit little by little. Keldon, yeah, you know what? I'm really chummy with Draymond Green, and he is. They exchanged jerseys. Like Draymond
Right.
Green gave up his spot in the All-Star game for, I think, DeJounte Murray. So he sees that. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to go with a player like that, a veteran who I can really help." Excuse me. Seeing like, because that's how players are nowadays. They
Sure.
want the ring, and
Mhm.
you even got Jeremy Sohan. I know, sure, he's a rookie or no longer, but he gets on social media and what does he say? I want to get to the playoffs. Well, I hate to tell
Yeah.
you this, Jeremy, it ain't gonna happen probably next season or even the season after that. So it's just then you see the aggressive moves. Phoenix, boom, pulls the trigger to get KD.
Mhm.
Dallas, boom, makes a move to get Kyrie Irving, and regardless how that worked out, I think the Spurs got to get to that level to start getting aggressive so they can keep up with the Joneses. Okay, fine. You give them a pass right now. They're in a rebuild,
Sure. Right.
but we got to get this going. And I think obviously
Right.
you get Wemby, it really propels you. Okay, we're in the right track. But if you miss out and you had a chance to perhaps get players, or you see Houston making moves, like getting Ime adding to the mix, yeah, you start thinking like, come on, Spurs, let's just get this going. But yeah, that's just food for thought, Spurs
No, yeah,
fans.
I hear
Yeah,
you.
it's just
I hear
it's
you.
just food for
And
thought.
on top of the fact that, like, if you think about it culturally as well, you'll have certain organizations that have people at top who, maybe want to go through the draft first and then make,
Yeah,
bigger decisions to pull the trigger. There's always that joke that, the fastest thing in San Antonio is the left lane on 281.
right. Yeah,
And everything else is kind of slow, kind of chill, and so it's funny to see, that we really want them to be aggressive, but at the same time, we also know that there's a possibility that maybe, that's not the way that they want to live
but
right
Nick,
now
but
if it's not going
but
to pan out.
but Nick, my what gets me going too a little bit, and it's got me
Hmm.
charged up is, but they can't afford to be aggressive because look at the war chest of picks they have. You
Right?
you can afford to make a
Yeah.
big splash. And guess
Hmm.
what? I think you probably can entertain the thought of flipping some of these guys on the roster right now. Think you can.
Absolutely.
If let's
Right.
just say you draft a Brandon Miller. I'm making this up. Brandon Miller comes to San Antonio.
Hmm.
Does that make Keldon expendable?
Mm.
You draft one of the Thompson kids. They look like just like a clone of Devin and Keldon and Jeremy.
Right.
That switchable player. Does that make them expendable? So
Mm.
it's just it just comes from fine. We just got out of a rebuild, but it's just a different era in the league. These players, and I hope they're not, but they want the ring and they will go chase it. We've seen it. Sure, maybe
Yeah. I mean,
Keldon and Jeremy and Devin are not megastars like Kevin Durant went to Golden State, or now with Phoenix and making power to teams. But these players, they want to get that glory, and they wouldn't put it past them. I would not be
I'm right there
surprised
with
if
you.
that would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't be.
you're talking to a kid who grew up in Brookline, Massachusetts, who remembers what
Yeah,
it was like when you were the worst team in the league, and then in 2008 you're celebrating a championship and you're going to a
yeah,
parade in downtown Boston. I mean,
yeah.
things can happen in free agency on a dime, and if that's what the Spurs are thinking this summer, then I think we're going to be okay. And
All
I think,
right.
as an organization, everybody can take a big deep breath and enjoy this off season as the craziness ensues come the free agency spending and getting when it comes to doing deals.
He is Nick Mantas right here with us on Locked On Spurs, a San Antonio sports reporter. Follow him on Twitter at Nick_Mantas. Make sure you do that right now. I'm trying, everybody. I'm trying to get through this cold, but my brain is all cloudy right now with Dayquil. So
You're doing just fine.
I'm doing fine. Yeah, I'm doing all right. All right. Hey, when we get back, we're going to talk about jersey retirement. No, not Kawhi. Although I'm going to ask Nick his thought on that. But just we're going to look at the ones that are hanging right now and ask who should come down and who should stay up right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about Ibotta. Look, you can earn cash back on every shopping trip with Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so much more. You can either link your loyalty account to you, or you can upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. Super easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 a year in real cash back. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. Or you can use your cash back to get that flight that you've been eyeing, perhaps that game you're dying to go to, that fancy dinner you've been craving. A typical basket of grocery was over $50 more expensive at the end of 2022 than the beginning of the year due to inflation. You could earn 2.5 times that in cash back with Ibotta, or even more, depending on how much you use Ibotta. Ibotta gives you real cash back, not points. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back. You can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or using a gift card. Earn that cash back right now on hundreds of online brands and retailers like Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, so much more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it with user code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app. Use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKED. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Nick Mantas, a San Antonio sports reporter. I always want to ask you, Nick, how does it feel to be on a Spurs-centric podcast, knowing the whole Tim Duncan lottery Boston night? That must make you kind of grit your teeth, you Boston kid.
It's water under the bridge at this point. TV had his wonderful career, and I think people in Boston are doing just fine. And so,
I think they're doing really fine. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just part of the it's part of the business and how things go. And so,
by the way, were you flipping tables with that? Were you flipping tables with that last game, Hawks Celtics? You must have.
I saw it last night, and I saw it. As I woke up this morning and I was about to come up here to Austin, and as I looked and I saw the highlight on my phone, I was just like, okay, let's go ahead and click off the phone and let's just get on the road. Yeah. It was just like, come on, like you gotta. One of the things that's been so frustrating with this team, and one of the things that they struggled with, in the NBA Finals last year, was the fact that they don't know how to close out games.
Yeah,
they just don't do it, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know how they don't know how yet. But it's just been so frustrating and getting me so angry just talking about it. So we could probably move on to that jersey.
Yeah. Let's move on before Nick starts getting out of his car right now and flipping it over and getting on the headlines. Hey, so there's been a lot of chatter right now, or just some fun debate with the offseason underway about whether Kawhi Leonard's Spurs jersey should be retired. I think you know the answer to that. The majority of Spurs fans are saying, hell no. While there is a segment of Spurs fans that are saying, maybe. But we'll get your thoughts on that in a few minutes. But it just got me to think that if you look at the Spurs' current retired jerseys, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot in San Antonio that feel this, that there's certain players up there that should not be up there, while there's ones that are up there that obviously should be up there. So let's go ahead and get those out of the way. We know Duncan, Parker, Robinson, Ginobili, and who am I missing? Gervin. Those five for sure stay up there. No doubt about it. Stay. But then you look at Sean Elliott, Bruce Bowen, James Silas, Johnny Moore. You start thinking, I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't be up there. Which of those other jerseys do you think should not be up there, Nick? I'll let you start off.
Well, don't think I'm like backing out of this in any way, but
Okay.
I will say as soon as a jersey goes up, I'm a big proponent for the people who decided at that time to put that jersey up deserve the respect that they earned by
Sure.
being up there. And so once they're up, I think they're up. Unless there's something that we find out like later on, like, if there's a situation where there was a monument that may be controversial later on and needs to be taken down, times have changed or something finds out something in somebody's past. We don't see that in any of these guys. Sure, they didn't have, championships like the guys you just mentioned, but, when it comes to the things that they meant to the organization at the times that they played, I really look at that as being more, beneficial to the ways in which, they earn their spot. So I say if they're up, you leave them up. And that's not me being a graduate of the University of Arizona and defending my guy Sean Elliott in any way.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think that what they meant to the team and what Sean Elliott means to the organization and to Spurs fans, I think they've all earned their spot of being up there and not being taken down. As to who would you say out of that list would you maybe take down?
Glad you asked. I think the Spurs set the bar too low, in my opinion. I think the bar is too low. I think you have to get to a Hall of Fame a line, and with the obvious one, your Timmys, your David, Gervin, Manu, Ice, whatnot. I think you got to get to that level. I don't think Avery Johnson should be up there. I don't think people are going to say like the community aspect. Oh, he hit the shot to win the Spurs the 99 title versus New York. But is that really enough? Because if that's the case, and then the bar being set that low, then Robert Horry should get in because he hit key shots for the Spurs against the Pistons in the finals. So, and then fans are going to say, no, he's not going to be up there because, ever since he left San Antonio, he's kind of took some verbal shots at playing with the team and just other stuff.
A lot of shots at the team this week. A lot of shots.
Yeah. I don't think Bruce Bowen should be up there. I know he's a defensive stopper. I get that.
Yeah.
Very key for the Spurs in their dynasty run. I get that. But so was Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was key. Captain Steven Jackson, he was key. Perhaps not.
Steve Kerr up there?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If that's the standard, Bruce Bowen for his defensive stuff. What about Steve Kerr for his 3-point shooting? What about, I just feel like the bar is just too low for San Antonio. I do agree with fans saying perhaps San Antonio should incorporate like a ring of honor, like the Cowboys do. I can be okay with that. Okay. But to have your jersey retired, that's a whole other level. Tony and Manu and the big three, sure, I get that, but and then there's the ones that are on the fringe that I'll allow, like James Silas, for sure. I think in the early years of the Spurs, people and fans don't realize what he did on the court, and it was just incredible. And then there's others that I think should be up there despite the off the court issues, like Alvin Robertson. If you ever have fun or have a few minutes, go on Basketball Reference and look up Alvin Robertson's Spurs numbers. Nick, your mouth would just come off. I'll be unhinged and be like, how is he not up there? I mean, quad dub. I think he was a 2-time defensive player of the year. I think he was multiple All-Star, led the league in steals and like at a high mark. Not just like barely made it, like with 1.5. I think it's like pushing 3 a game or something ridiculous. But he had major off the court issues, and that's why his jersey would never be retired. But if we're just looking at what he did number wise, I think it belongs up there. So, but yeah, I mean, Johnny Moore, that was a sentimental one because he had that rare disease, it was like a desert fever or something like that. And they put him up there. Again, a Ring of Honor would have satisfied that. But for a jersey retirement, I don't know. Sean's interesting. Sean, he's like right straddling the fence. I know he's your guy, Arizona, alum.
So is Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr. Yeah. But it's, I think Sean's like the one I'll be all right. Like that make it be okay, fine. Sure,
Right.
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
but I just think the bar is just too low for the Spurs. But hey, before I let you go, I know you're busy out in Austin. What do you stand with Kawhi Leonard? Should his Spurs jersey be retired, knowing what he did for the Spurs?
Okay, so here's how I see it. If the bar is too low already, is putting Kawhi up there part of that low bar, or is it that people are mad that he was the face of the organization when Duncan left, and then he
Right.
left because he wanted something else? Is that what people are mad at, or because that's
they're
the thing that I'm getting?
Yeah,
That-
they're mad at the exit.
That's what it seems.
Like his exit.
That the exit, rather than the things that he was able to do. Sure, he left in a very weird and awkward way, and I totally understand that. But in the time, so did Ray Allen. So he went over to Miami and then beat Boston to get 10 more championships over there. And I get the ring chasing, and I get the mindset behind that. I feel like when it comes to the organization versus the player, or the city versus the player, if there's already bad blood to begin with, my thought process is it's not going to get any better unless you were to come back in some way. And I don't necessarily see that happening anytime soon. And so I get, people wanting to put it up there numbers wise, but when it comes to, again, like Johnny Moore and like other people who meant something to the community, I see that as being more of a reason why people really want their favorite players, or the people who they grew up watching and people they idolize, being up in those rafters. And if the organization and the whole entire city of San Antonio Spurs fans don't like you because of the way you left, then you ain't going up. Just gonna put it plain and simple. It's not happening. So I see the mindset of, sure, his numbers are great, but it comes down to personal relationships at the end of the day, and I really do feel like he has that with anybody in the, sure, him and Popper probably so good, but as far as the organization overall, and as far as the way that Spurs fans feel about him and the way he exited, it just I think it made Spurs fans kind of feel kind of less desired. Like, okay, you're just going to leave just to go get a ring, and are we not good enough for you?
Yeah, and that's the thing I mentioned during the this week's Locked On Spurs, where we had two fans debating. I found a Spurs fan that's a big Kawhi Leonard fan and feels like adamantly that his jersey should be retired. And then I brought in another fan who's with the majority like hell no. And it's interesting because you hear his arguments, the pro Kawhi, and his argument is, if we use the low bar, that was his biggest argument. But if we just use just the numbers and what he produced, that title, Sean never did that on his shoulders. Johnny Moore never did that. Silas never did that. So and then, but I think first of all, I don't think it'll ever happen. I think the Spurs would have to like win a string of titles, and all fans are in cloud nine, and something major would have to happen. But I don't think it'll happen. Right. I think it'll be a bad look optically from the fans' point of view. And plus, too, the biggest thing is he pretty much torpedoed the Spurs. They're in the situation they're in right now because of him. So. Because he
made San Antonio kind of look like a place that wasn't desired to be in,
right? Yeah, and
anything far from the truth.
And Nick, I mean, it's rare that the city of San Antonio, the Spurs, get major megastars in San Antonio. They're once every so often. It was David, it was Ice, it was Ice, David, Timmy, the big three, and then for a hot minute it was Kawhi. But you look at the Lakers. I mean, how many big names have gone there? Look at your Celtics. I mean, you have jerseys retired left and right up there for good reason. The Warriors, the Heat, the Lakers, the list goes on. And San Antonio's the Spurs fans always feel that, why don't you want to come to us? I mean, think about it. Only LMA, LaMarcus Aldridge, is the only big name free agent to ever pick San Antonio. Not get traded to. Pick. Like in free agency, I am the big fish in free agency pond. Everybody wants me, but I choose San Antonio. That rarely, if not ever, happens in San Antonio. So you add that in the mix, and I can get why Spurs fans feel the way they feel about Kawhi. Interesting, though. Kawhi, I give him this, though. He didn't badmouth the team after he left. He didn't go out publicly and bash it, as we see like maybe DeJounte Murray, did. Steven Jackson did. But, I mean.
DeJounte Murray's badmouthing a lot of people nowadays. I don't know.
Yeah. Did you see that video he did after did you see the video he put out after the Hawks won? Like, just talking smack.
I didn't yet.
Yeah. He was talking smack about how they're trying to hold him down, and look, now they're coming back to the A. So all right. Now, well, my thing is, produce. Let me see what you can do now with an extra game and see what happens. But
exactly.
But by the way, I am going to advocate for the Spurs to retire your jersey in the AT&T.
My jersey. You want number 16 up there?
I want 16 up there. Give me.
I've only been here for a couple of months. You want my jersey retired? Now that, my friend, is a low bar. Okay.
Now you got where the punchline was coming from. Now that's where the punchline. Hey, he is Nick Mantas. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick_Mantas, Mantas. Nick, anything cooking on your end?
Doing a lot of reaching out to people around town for some freelancing and stuff. Part of what brought me up here to Austin and stuff. And so we'll see, what goes around and what happens pretty soon with that. I'm doing little stuff here and there and doing some stuff on my social media as well when it comes to being updated with everything that's going on with not just, the Spurs, but, over the NBA playoffs as well as, NHL playoffs. It's really exciting. So just really staying busy. And hopefully it'll, lead into some opportunities that are really exciting coming up. So stay tuned. Stay, as we say, locked on to my social media pages. Nick_Mantas on Twitter, Nick Mantas TV on Instagram, and as well as on YouTube as well. And so some things are in the works, and talking with a lot of different people, and really excited about moving forward. So
all right, can I Woj bomb it? Like when you get a solid offer, can I be like, hey, congratulations to Nick? Let me Woj. If I put it out there, I'm going to make sure to message you. So like as soon as I put it out there, you gotta retweet it. So send us up there so people know. Absolutely. So. Once again, follow him on Twitter at Nick_Mantas. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Again, you are the everydayers, and don't forget about tomorrow's episode. We're probably going to have that NBA 2K League guest come on. There are a lot. I mean, I know. It should not be surprising that I know, but I don't know if you know this, Nick, but in San Antonio, there is a very thriving esports community. It's not as big, but there is. And I think it's slowly but surely starting to bubble. So every time we have an NBA 2K League guest come on, people tune in. So it's with Hawks Talons, the head coach. So he'll be coming on. And of course, we'll be definitely talking about Euro Silver and Black on tomorrow's episode. But for Nick Mantas, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.